Hi, welcome back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
This week we talk about Critical Role Campaign 2, Episode 77, A Tangled Web.
Yep.
Uh,
Funny, as we were talking at dinner, and we were talking about what we want to do next week because there's no episode. We were talking about the new Unearthed Arcana. I said we could do another campaign recap, and we were like, well, that's what this episode was. Which,
yeah, it very much, especially in retrospect, that's what I settled on. This was sort of the mid-season recap episode. Or maybe the season opener recap. So one of the things that we talked about that happened was giving back the magic items.
Yep.
Although none of them were given back.
No. But of course, of all the people, Sam was the one who brought it up.
Yeah.
And he did offer them back to each person. And
I think Jester, well, they were correct. That whip belongs to either Ford or
the Orphan Maker. Yeah, no, I said that at the very beginning when they found the whip. That Ford would be the one to give it to. I do still believe that Jester should end up with the Glove of Plastine to give her some offensive abilities to offset the fact that she's continually having to use her spells for healing, which she doesn't like to do.
Yes, you are correct. That is a correct course of action. But
to be fair, any course of action is a correct course of action in a role-playing game. I mean, it can lead to failure, but if it's, arguably.
Yeah, well, I say correct in that you are correct in your assertion that would allow
it would
resource
some
management.
Of the sting.
Yes. But I don't think Jester should get it.
Yeah.
I think.
What's wrong with
I think this episode.
Unchecked prankster having fire.
Well, it's not just that, but like this episode, especially. Jester and maybe even Laura, because sometimes on my rewatch especially, I was trying to figure out what Laura was thinking, especially in the interactions between Ford and Caduceus. And I think that's one of the reasons why we saw so much of her and Caleb in this episode. And it comes down to that there's this other cleric now, and she's letting on that Jester is getting envious of Caduceus.
Okay.
And it's an interesting, and I don't know if they talked about this in their massive text thread or not, but like when Caduceus joined the gang, everyone was very happy because we had someone who's like a dedicated healer and debuff person, and Jester was very happy, and they both sort of had these tag teaming moments where they were helping Yasha, Ford, Caleb, where we're seeing the nurturing nature of clerics, and now we're starting to get a little more where Jester is beginning to show the jealousy that she showed us in relation to other traveler clerics.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that develops over the next 7 to 8 weeks.
Quick note on that.
Yeah.
7 to 8 weeks. So back episode 30, whenever it was first mentioned, it was set, and I checked this with Crit Roll Stats, so shout out to them because they keep track of all of this. It is the zenith or the 26th of Undalar, and I may be saying these wrong. Episode 77, according to Crit Rule stats, ended on the zenith, or 26th, of Misuthar. There's 2 other months in between those two. Meaning it's, in game time, it's actually 11 to 13 weeks out. Unless the date has been changed. Now, in 7 to 8 weeks real time is Halloween. It's TravelerCon and their cosplays on Halloween.
No.
It could be.
Okay, maybe, but it's unlikely.
Yes.
Just because there's seemingly a lot of story that Matt has to get through.
Yeah.
And I don't see narratively where he can fit in downtime.
Yeah.
Right now. And in campaign 1, it wasn't until they were 15th level, thereabouts, that they got any extended downtime.
Yeah.
So I think that will be basically the same this campaign.
I mean, it's really going to be determined by how much time elapses in each session.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and time is fluid.
Yeah.
So we have. I love when Nott's like, "Oh, you're a holy man now."
Yes.
And vow of silence, vow of celibacy.
Redistribution, yes.
And I love Bo. Celibacy is stupid. Early contention for MVP was Travis, simply because he produced.
He summoned his own packed weapon.
Yeah, we had a moment of IRL bonus action summoning of a weapon. And he eventually solved the problem that the players were having at the table concentrating. I do wonder, though, why they don't have the fly traps.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, that's neither here nor there. When they're talking about them going to interrogate, if that's even the right word, the prisoner, and Caleb says, "I will watch if they permit me, because she deserves it." And there was some back and forth where Jester asked for some clarification on that. And then Beauregard's like, is this self-projection kind of, is this some kind of self-projection kind of thing? And Caleb's like, why not both? The first real admission from Caleb.
Yeah.
At the table that Liam has expressed in talks many times, that Caleb believes he deserves all the shit that he gets.
Yep.
And yeah, when it finally got around to that scene, there was definitely I should or could be in this position. And I think I do wonder if in that scene he was hoping in witnessing her execution that he would be killing that part of himself.
Okay. Maybe.
As sort of, not really a final step, because really the final step is him confronting Trent.
Right. Which may be closer than we think.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
I do want to say when they're talking about traveling, he mentions the place he's from. And you remember way back in the beginning of the campaign, I said he's from, and I was talking about him being either noble or connected and from the capital.
Yeah.
Turns out he's from the small town is basically a suburb of the capital.
Yeah.
So I was, I'm calling half a point on that one.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Do you think that Scourger was an arcane trickster, or just a wizard rogue multi-class? Because she definitely did sneak attack when she had attacked him.
Yeah. I think multi-class. I think she's probably an arcane trickster mainly, but I think she's multi-class. I have a feeling that all the Scourgers have pure wizard levels. They're either wizards or multi-class.
That's fair. Yeah, and there are some good mixes.
Yeah.
Between rogue and wizard. So that's fair. Bo's kind of obnoxious, specifically with Ford in this episode.
When he's reattuning his new packed weapon.
Yeah. Just sort of, his words like, I'm not touching you.
Yeah.
I'm not touching you. And I wonder if, because she's never done anything like that, and she also hinted at being ready, willing, not really the right words, but more enthusiastic to engage in pranks.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first part of it. And part of me wonders if that was purely because Ford was working out with her.
Yeah.
That I think that probably triggered something in Marisha, and she said, "You know what? This will change the dynamic between her and Ford."
Yeah. And she even mentioned, I feel like I'm being called out.
Yeah.
I think he got this new set of powers to kind of lesson, I guess, because he was like looking to each of them for a way to regain his power. He finally decided on, Caduceus' way. And I think kind of a way to soften it, because they'd been so close, with the first mate and everything. Yeah. He was like, "Look, I'm sure your workouts helped." She's like, "Okay," and she doesn't like being pitied. And I think that's what changed the dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Being called out. Okay, you're gonna do that with me? Okay, it's on.
That's fair. This, we got more new flavorings of all of Ford's old powers.
Yes.
That the sword turns to snow.
Yeah.
When he dismisses it. It still comes out a splash of water.
But it freezes.
Which makes me wonder how much of that block of text on that card has to deal with cold damage.
Yeah.
Or like
I want to know
cone of cold.
I want to know what. Yeah, we know that it's a +2 longsword basically, so we know it's versatile, which means we know he has a +11 to hit with it, in 1d8 or 1d10 +7 damage.
Mm-hmm.
Matt said it has 2 charges. When those charges reset or what those charges do, we don't know.
Yeah.
But it has 2 charges. Whether it's on a short rest, long rest.
Well, most magic items are
long rest, yeah.
So does it recharge 1d2 then?
Or does it just regain all charges? There are items that regain all expended charges.
Yeah. Which would put the powers that it has in the first to second level range for spell equivalents.
Yeah.
So not Cone of Cold.
Right.
Maybe Ice Knife.
Maybe.
Ray of Frost at will.
What if? Okay, just hear me out on this. This is just a thought I had. First, second level spell. We have several theories in game that this is a weapon that will help them with the Laughing Hand, the Giggle Fist, and when he gets cut, a new mouth opens up. What if he can expend a charge to turn it into a Shadow Blade, so then it's not doing slashing, bludgeoning damage, it's doing psychic damage, or cold damage in this case. A version of Ebony Blade.
Yeah.
And Shadow Blade.
Yeah. Expend a charge and this blade becomes a blade of ice kind of thing.
And does cold damage instead of...
Yeah. I mean, for other demons, that doesn't help him, but an interesting
Or maybe you can choose the type of damage among these choices.
Yeah, possible. And they were really begging for direction in this episode.
Yeah. Well,
which I thought was odd.
They were really at a point where everyone's personal things are either on hiatus, haven't been started yet, or wrapped up, at least for the moment.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of what's been driving their choices more than the war.
Yeah, well, at least within the urgency.
Yeah,
for sure.
Within the urgency, for sure.
Yeah, and it's odd. Part of me wonders if Taliesin wanted to take a step back just because he doesn't want to be center.
Yeah.
Where I think he's sort of been dancing around it.
Yeah.
And then going north.
He made his thing about Ford.
Yeah.
He made,
Yes.
And I like that. Personally.
Well, it certainly gets the other players involved.
Yeah. I like that he's angling to, yes, let's explore this backstory, but, let's bring, I like, it's always nice to have your moment in the spotlight, but it's nice to share that spotlight with others or to even divert the spotlight to others at times, too.
Yeah.
And, Taliesin being the most seasoned player, arguably, in fact, that's why he was brought into the group, was him and Marisha were to help the others with the numbers.
I wonder how long it will be before, because they probably will only recognize it in retrospect, but if they ask Taliesin how he did the mental jujitsu to turn his backstory stuff into other people's stuff.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder who's the next part is going to be.
Bo.
Bo, you think Bo?
Oh, yeah. For sure, Bo.
I'm telling you the next part of what Caduceus does.
Oh. Jester.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. That was kind of what I was thinking, but
it's no accident that the Wild Mother wants them to go to an island, and the Traveler Con is happening from an island.
Okay.
So yeah, it's definitely going to be Jester.
Okay.
Speaking of Jester, we had a moment where they're talking with Dyron, and Dyron's like, "Yes, it's that new cult," and Jester's like, "Not a cult. Are we a cult?" And it very much had the "Are we the baddies?" kind of moment. But that, I think, has more to do with the player's connotation of the word cult.
Yeah.
And D&D does lean into that because it's cultist. is the monster stat block name.
Yeah.
For the evil guys always doing stuff. But in the traditional sense, any church, any polytheistic church was a cult.
Yes.
The cult of Mars, the cult of Jupiter, the cult of Isis.
Mm-hmm.
It's only since Christianity has sort of taken over everything.
Yeah.
That turned into
a taboo word.
Yeah. Just because it's not the church.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that.
Which technically, well, never mind.
Yeah. And we also see Dyron is an interesting character that Matt has because she's sort of an authority figure, but she also, in a lot of ways, represents a lot of the laws of the Empire. Mm-hmm. She hates Jorhas.
Mm-hmm.
She distrusts other faiths.
Mm-hmm.
So all these things that Matt has sort of, for the players, for their characters, have been the bad things of the Empire that he has in Dyron. Where she is not, oh, you follow a different god, well, now I'm gonna take you out right here. And I did love Jester's little jab at her.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for providing you with such a good cover.
Yeah. Yeah, they and then Sam's like, imagine how demoralizing it is for us not to be able to hire a real housekeeper. And then
yeah, there's a lot of Sam bleeding through.
Yeah.
And not the last few episodes. Every time they deal with Dyron.
Yeah.
At least I have to believe it's Sam. Because otherwise it's Scanlan. But yeah. But the other sort of moment, the thought that I had, and I can't remember her name offhand, but the character that Sigourney Weaver plays in Galaxy Quest.
Oh. Yeah.
There was a moment in this episode where I thought where Laura Jester felt kind of like that character.
Yeah.
Because she's looking in on people, she's messaging all these people, and that seems to be largely the function she's serving right now.
My whole job is just to repeat everything.
Repeat everything the DM says.
Okay.
It's a stupid job, but I'm gonna do it. There was a moment, and that's one of the reasons why I liked later in the episode when she messaged the gentleman.
Yeah.
And it's the first time in a very long time we've gotten Jester, well, in this case, straight up lying, but paraphrasing what the person has said.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do wish that they would be alone for those.
Yeah.
But Travis's countdown is too hilarious.
And my headcanon is that Ford is sitting in front of Jester when she's doing the message, counting on his fingers so she knows.
Yes, that's funny.
That's my headcanon.
Well, his reaction to when she is describing the gentleman's response would seem to indicate that that is the case.
Yeah. Because
when she was telling him what he was saying, he was like, okay. Yeah. That's good.
All right. Okay, so do you have anything else? Because I have two big getting into our wild speculation theories towards the end here. And one is regarding the beacon and one is regarding Yasha and her current missions. And do you have anything before we head into those two things?
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
I wanted to touch on, we now know the clerics, both of them, took guidance.
Yeah.
And,
which is a great spell.
Yeah. And when I was watching the episode live, and they started casting guidance, I was like, I wonder what Caleb got. So I went into the little D&D Beyond thing.
Mm-hmm.
He has produced flame now.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So I just wanted to touch on that, which I thought is an interesting pick because he already had Firebolt, and produce flame is a different connotation, is a different way of using it.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see if and when and how he uses it. They ask Essek for any information on their spies' safe houses.
Yep.
Or how they could identify their agents. And Essek's like, nope.
Yep.
You
haven't got that much trust yet.
Well, and really this kind of mission's perfect for a double agent sort of test.
Yeah.
Because it'll be the first time they're going to be back where they're from. It will be...
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things. And Essek
But I bet you all the spies in the Empire know who they are.
Yeah, probably. And we may or may not see, depending on perception rolls and stuff, somebody tailing them.
Mm-hmm.
Which would be a funny thing for Matt to do. Yeah. I also wanted to talk briefly about the Dunamancy spells.
Yes. Those were great.
The immovable object costs 25 gold piece worth of gold dust.
Yep.
Which the spell consumes.
Which he has 2 doses of.
For Jester.
For Jester, specifically for pranks.
Yep. And he has 4 castings of it himself.
Yes.
And Resonant Echo, which we saw in the battle.
Yes.
And Echo Knights was the first, I believe that's the first time that's been labeled as such. Which was the drow that they met under, said Jorhas. But yeah. And when they first got into Jorhas, they met people who did that. They are 3rd level spells.
Yes.
And Laura is building that love triangle, I think.
Yeah, she definitely spent time.
Big time in this episode.
Not blatantly doing it, but pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Like not in your face, but very subtle, but I want you to see it.
She wasn't flirting with him, but she was definitely
there for him.
Yeah, she's definitely feeding the shippers for sure.
Yeah.
Because that's my ship. So I notice when stuff like that drops. And this episode was full of it. And I could see Travis noticing it.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of makes me wonder if that's part of her plan.
I think it is. I am on board with the Caleb and Jester. However, I don't think it's going to happen. I think she is using that, 1, to feed the fans, but 2, to make Ford jealous.
Yeah.
And I think that the I'm drawing a blank on the paradox. Anyway, the foretelling that Travis did is 1 shot.
Oh yes, yeah, the temporal paradox. Yeah.
Yeah. The preordained
the half orc and the blue tiefling baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he dropped the hint.
Yeah.
Way back when, I think that is going to be. I think that is the end game. for them.
Travis kicking and screaming, probably, but
Yes.
yeah. And I think this love triangle is.
But see, Laura can say you forced it because you did that.
Yeah, that's true.
And before we do it, Bo giving Dyron her.
Yeah, that was another big
emblem.
The thing that we call.
Yeah.
Because we were saying, is Bo going to give her hers, or is she going to make one of the other 9 give Tyra? And because they're leaving, Bo gave her hers.
Yeah. And I said it would either be Bo or she would get it from Caduceus if Bo kept hers.
Yeah. Which does open up some interesting things, because the first time they are pickpocketed, this looks Jorhassian. Who are these people?
Or the first time they're arrested.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're going to be searched when they re-enter the Empire.
More than likely.
So, yeah. That'll be interesting. And Caleb basically agreed to leave no witnesses to his dunamancy. And he prepares seeming a lot.
Yeah.
Because he always seems to have it ready to cast. And it worked out for him in this episode. And he actually made a point also to say that he was staring at Bo. During it.
Yeah.
And so Taliesin, we talked about this when he was giving Laura shit for writing down how many cupcakes she had. And I said, he's going to pay for that one day. And he paid for it in this episode.
Yep.
250 gold worth of it. Because he already bought that ivory.
Yep.
So remember to keep track of that stuff. Do you think, and then not is Sam is planning some sort of net bolo attack contraption? Do you think she's heading towards Porthos from the Three Musketeers?
Yeah, I can see that.
Or she just has all these different kind of weapons and stuff, and she just pulls them out and
I can see that. I mean, we know she does have 3 daggers in her inventory.
Yeah.
Not that she's used them.
Yes, that's true. And the potential of a magic one. So Doringa, is that her name? The head of antiquities is their number 1 target. Speaking of going and finding the.
Yeah. So where do you think the beacons are? I have 2 potential theories.
I think they are correct. I think they moved them.
Okay. I agree.
And
all right, so first let's look at where we know that beacons have been. Felderwin, Zadash.
Yep.
Okay. Both of them are not. They're not the capital. They're far from the capital. Both of them, though, are large enough. Zadash being a metropolitan area, Felderwin being an important agricultural spot in the Empire, that travelers and even high-ranking officials are not uncommon. Okay? These are very important because the Severson Academy is doing this. Neither are close to the capital. So, two potential spots. I have one that's one that I favor more. Okay.
Okay.
The one that I'll do the one least first, and that's Hupperduke.
Okay. That would actually be my
because
top
it
one.
fits those three criteria. It's not necessarily close to the capital. It's big enough that people coming and going aren't uncommon, and it's important enough that government officials will show up. And we know that's an experimental place, and they're doing experiments on the beacons. So Hupperduke.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is a little bit of wishful thinking. I think it's a little more because everybody is tying into all of this. Everybody's backstories, and that's Commandant, where Bo is from. It is important. It's also an agricultural spot, so it's got the travelers. It's not close to the capital. It's further from the Zoroastrian border than Hupperduke, so it's a little bit safer in that regard. But Bo has mentioned multiple.
Well, it's about the same distance as Felderwin was.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, they're relatively.
And she was worried that they were going to.
Yeah.
There.
But Bo has mentioned multiple times that her father has done a lot for the Empire. Could that include letting them use some of their land to perform these experiments, do things on?
No, I think he's provided them maybe a third of a harvest once.
Okay.
Of their like a third of their total production.
Yeah.
For wine, because wine and vinegar are important for armies.
Yeah. So, I have a feeling that's where it's going to be, and if not there, then Hupperduke.
For the character tie-in perspective, that's a good potential, but I think Hupperduke is the more likely because the young mage, the Baroness, formerly Marquis, that's going to be where she is going to be based out of. And they were doing this basically to make super soldier serum.
Yeah.
And all of the Empire's weapons, newest weapons, are coming out of Hupperduke.
See, part of me thinks something would have gone on with the beacon if it was in that close of proximity to another beacon, though.
I don't think they took the beacon out when they were in Hupperduke.
Yeah, they did. There were times they had this liver.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, when they went into the...
So, like, in my brain, I think there'd be some kind of, like, either it seems different, some kind of tell that it was closer to this overlapping arc.
Well, maybe there was, and that's why we saw the activity out of Hupperduke, because we only heard about it third hand, maybe. But stuff was happening in Hupperduke, and the garrison there basically had to sort of retreat towards them.
That's true. Okay, so possibly.
But yeah, if it's not in the capital,
it's not.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. And I don't think Trent is going to have it.
No.
And I don't know why Caleb was arguing that he would. So I think Caleb, in that sense, was trying to put some weight on the scale.
Yeah.
For them to do some of his stuff. And I'm wondering if Liam had an idea of at what level he thought they should be before he went to take on Trent. Because now that they've hit 10th, he's more gung-ho. And maybe that's just a reflection of that he already thinks that he's outed because of the events in the dynasty. And
which he said he does.
Yeah. So he's like, they know I'm out here. They know I'm alive. They know I'm here. I got to go at them. and I gotta go out far.
It could be. It could be that. It could also be. I know Liam has mentioned in talks that prior to the start of the campaign, he was probably a 4th or 5th level evoker.
Mm.
Well, he's now doubled that level.
Yeah.
So he's double the power he was when he was training with Trent.
Yeah.
Now he thinks he's powerful enough.
One nitpick of the episode, and I completely forgot about it until just now because we're talking about Caleb. When he said he attacked her, he said he was hitting her with his transmutation stone.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was an interesting and poignant choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a little upset, especially with the crit, that Matt didn't have it do a D4.
Yeah.
So he could have gotten 2d4 or d4 times 2 damage out of it.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. And Caleb wasn't going to be doing any significant damage to her anyway.
Right.
But their dice do know when to roll crits for story purposes.
Yeah.
And that goes back to campaign 1.
Yep.
So yeah. We've seen instances of the Wild Mother working with other deities.
Yes.
In this Caduceus arc. And it got me thinking, as I said earlier in this episode, the fact that Traveler Con is happening on an island to the south, and Caduceus had a vision that he needs to go south to an island is no accident.
Mm-hmm.
We have talked about how we believe the Traveler is Artagon.
Yep.
And the Feywild is strongly associated with nature, with the wilds.
Mm-hmm.
So what if the Traveler is sort of, by way of making this alliance, because he knows he's going to need someone on his side when he ascends, that he has agreed to work with the Wild Mother.
I can see it.
To fix whatever is wrong.
Yeah.
Like, look, Moradin's not helping you. Raven Queen's not helping you.
Yep.
Let me help you.
Celine's not helping you.
Yep. So.
Yes.
Yeah. That's my speculation for how those two are going to tie in. So, Juriel. We had
Juriel, yeah.
This is a question that Matt is going to get asked that he won't be able to answer until the campaign is over, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably won't happen until a con, I believe, is my guess.
Oh yeah.
But how long was he sitting on that scene?
Yeah.
And was he waiting for them to scry on Yasha? That no matter when they were going to scry on Yasha, that was the scene they were going to see.
Yeah.
Or did he actually have it timed? And like he knew where Yasha was going to be, and he had prepared several things to read because he read it.
Yeah.
So that's why I wonder if he just had that in his back pocket, and when the timing was right, he brought it out.
I'm not sure. Okay, here's the thing. One, she's in Sadash at a library. Okay, so they're in the
Cobalt
Empire,
Reserve,
more than likely. Where they have to go, though, that forest is back in Jorhaus. It's on the opposite side of Jorhaus from the Empire.
Veleftu?
Mm-hmm. Or no, the blood dust something.
Oh, where the heart is?
Yeah.
Because the head was sent with the elves in Veleftu.
Yeah. The other one, I forget the name of it, but you can see if you look at the pictures of the map, it's the opposite end of Jorhaus. So she's headed back that way. Or to the head. Okay, but here's the thing. We've got this Uriel. Okay, so I'm assuming this is a celestial being.
Given the name, that was my inclination.
I have both in D&D and in real world mythologies and in AEL, IEL that Michael, Gabriel, Uri,
the Hebrew naming conventions.
Anyway, this person's been separated. The head, the body, the arms, the limbs. This hero that the clays and the stones and the dust was all split up and separated. Is this the same person? Why do you go through that unless it's been corrupted in some way and you're trying to keep the components apart?
Well, we don't know that this being that they're after was corrupted, though.
It's true, too.
Their remains may just be the key to unlock whatever it is they died to seal away.
Yeah, that's true, too.
And it's a different evil than the Laughing Hand.
But what if this is the hero from Caduceus' story?
Yeah, that's possible. But if that were the case, I have a feeling Matt would have asked Taliesin to make a history check.
Okay.
Or possibly just given it to him.
I think it's just a little bit too similar of a story to...
Well, bodies being dismembered are rife through mythology. And the reasons vary, but usually it has to do with diminishing their power and ability to come back.
Yeah.
Kronos is dismembered.
So why would you do that of your hero?
Well, again, we don't know the circumstance of dismemberment. Yeah. Like, all we know is that they were cut in half, and the heart went here and the head went here. Now, I had several thoughts on this. One, Descent into Avernus is out now, and one of the principal characters in that is a fallen angel who has taken up arms in the hells because the celestial gods, the good gods, didn't want to be bothered fighting the blood war. And they felt it was an important thing to be doing. So they became a devil.
Yes, it's...
And they're in Mordenkainen's as well.
Yeah, it's...
I can't remember the name of it.
Zariel, I think?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
So it could have something to do with that. Where this is potentially an angel that went to the abyss, or an angel who followed Zariel to hell and died in the blood war.
Yeah. And we do know that Exandria and Vox Machina and the Mighty Nine are all an official world and official canon of D&D lore now. Wizards of the Coast has confirmed that.
Well, and Caird crossed over with the Waffle Crew.
Yeah. So everything in Exandria is official, and in Critical Role is official D&D canon.
Yeah.
As part of the multiverse.
And he has used Mordenkainen stuff.
From
previously.
the beginning of this campaign, at least.
Yeah. So, and he had access to that stuff before it even came out.
Yeah.
Because there was, and then it came out. Oh, what's that?
Yeah. That first, where they found that first undead thing, the first job they did for the gentleman.
Yep. Yeah. I did have another thought, though.
Okay.
And that is that Juriel isn't a celestial.
Okay.
And that Juriel might have been a Githyanki.
And what made you think that?
Because he said that the head was sent to the elves in Velafthu,
Okay.
which we don't know, that has not been mentioned.
Right.
Could Velafthu be Tal'Dorei? And could, through the eons of time, Vox Machina ended up with that Githyanki hen, and it promised to grant them a wish if they would let it out.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So the name doesn't quite match, but
yeah,
based on, and the elves in Tal'Dorei went crazy.
Yeah.
The drow went crazy, and a lot of what's happening now is centering around the drow.
Mm-hmm.
This would give Matt the opportunity to tell the other side of that story.
Yeah.
To illustrate how the dynasty is different from them.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if that's where that is gonna go. That's my wild speculation for the lore for this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they end up on the coast.
Yes.
Last few minutes, I want to touch on this since we're talking about upcoming stuff.
Yeah.
Jester is upset that they didn't have the gems that she was hoping to have the next time they came to the coast because she wanted to get Orly to give them tattoos.
Yes. Although they did bring up the fact that you have mentioned multiple times on multiple episodes that Beauregard does indeed have a jeweler's kit and would be very easy for her to make the powder dust.
Yep.
They're only a couple steps behind you.
Yeah. And she was excited to do so to the point where she's like, we can just go buy some gems and I'll powder them, yeah. Also, I have a feeling that when they see Orly, he's going to have a pile of gold for them. So they really should talk to him.
And maybe gems.
Yeah. Because he has been operating their ship. And it has been 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, something
I
like
think.
that.
So he's completed 1 to 2
commissions,
trips.
Yeah.
That's got to be worth, a couple grand, probably, depending on what they're running. Plus, Jester's in the perfect position to prepare the groundwork in Nicodranas. Just traveler, have all of your people come here. We will all get on our boat on this date, and we will go to the island for TravelerCon.
Yep.
And they just have a boat full of traveler worshippers.
And they pay a fee for passage, making the team money.
Yep.
We will be your cruise ship, traveler.
Yes. So I'm saddened that they haven't done that yet. I imagine they will come across that idea.
Yeah.
But they seem to be in a hurry to leave Nicodranas.
Yeah.
So I think the following episode is going to be them quickly getting everything together and basically running to the Empire.
Yeah.
It will be the first overland slog that we've had because they basically passed up everything that Matt had prepared for Uthodurn. Yep. So it will be interesting because Matt has the opportunity to show either how totalitarian the Empire is becoming or how much it's collapsing.
Yeah.
And that there's a bunch of brigands. And it would be absolutely hilarious for them to run into that guy for a third time.
Yeah. Do they...
And there's no Molly around to keep them from burning him to a crisp.
Do they consciously change their clothes, or does Matt just let it slide? That they
Ooh.
I'm thinking Matt just lets it slide.
That's a good question. The new art has them in the Jurhasi and stuff. So yeah, that's an interesting question. But after the first time that they get called on it, they're definitely going to change their threads if he calls them on it.
Yeah.
And they're fortunate in that they're entering the Empire from the coast.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt will be able to make mention of it without dropping the hammer on them, as it were.
Yeah.
Because the guards can just be like, those are interesting clothes. Where did you get those? And they go,
costume shop?
Yeah. But I don't think it will bar, like, they're a long way from Jorhas on that border.
Yeah.
They're not going to know the latest fashions. So I don't think it's a huge risk, but that is a good question. And the players did think of it in Jorhas to begin with.
Yeah.
They wanted local clothes. So maybe they will think of that as they cross back into the Empire. Also, they sort of have something of a brand in the Empire with their old styles.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll see Beauregard like play up the Cobalt Soul stuff.
Yeah. And
start flashing a symbol of Ioun. Because she hasn't really done that, and we haven't seen a lot of Beauregard's faith.
Yeah.
Or her relationship with the knowing mistress.
Yeah.
Not that she A, needs to have one, or B, has one at all, because she's a monk.
Well, yeah. The only caveat to that would be that the Cobalt Soul is specifically set up in service of Ioun.
Yeah, but, like...
I mean, she doesn't have to have a devout relationship.
Their powers are not dependent on faith.
True.
Is why I say she doesn't have to have that relationship.
Yeah. But there is a degree of exclusivity,
Yeah.
exclusiveness
That's
to
true.
Ioun.
Speaking of Bo and the Cobalt Soul, Dyron knighted her, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
You are an expositor, because I say so.
She didn't even have to build a lightsaber.
Part of me, especially on my rewatch, was like, well, gee, thanks. What does that get me? Who else is going to know? You told me that here in this room we're all by ourselves.
Yeah.
And
she's got to wait for the paperwork to go through.
Well, paperwork's not going anywhere. Everyone in Zadash is dead. Well, maybe not everyone, but a great many of them are dead. And possibly whoever Dyron was in contact with.
Yeah.
So that will be interesting. And I wonder how long it will take for Marisha to ask Jester to message Dyron to see if she's been able to check in.
Yeah.
Because by the time they get to Zadash, it will have been 10 days, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Depending on how fast they leave Nicodranas and how fast they travel. I have a feeling they aren't going to be concerned with being stealthy, so they will just be hauling ass.
It's really going to depend on, do they get caught up? Do they stop in Trostenwald? Do they stop in Altville? Do they stop in, That's what's going to be the hang-up.
Yeah.
I don't see them really stopping in Trost and Wilde. All-field, I can see them checking in with Bryce.
So we've talked about how the circus leader, oh God, drawing a blank on his name right now. But how he was involved in something. Gustav. How he was involved in bringing the Devil Toad.
Mm-hmm.
What if he is involved in the rifts that are happening in the Empire?
It's possible. He's working for Vince.
I can see them checking in with their contacts saying, did it happen here? But we're out of time.
Yep.
So we will talk to you guys next week, where we will be going over the UA. And
good stuff in this one.
Yes. We'll see you next week.